Microsoft Teams is helping a bicycle company reinvent the way that they work.
We make low-maintenance bicycles for everyday riders. Once the pandemic hit, we had nobody coming into the showroom, so we started doing virtual visits via Microsoft Teams.
We're able to see 2 or 3-fold the amount of customers we used to be able to see. All of a sudden, we could open up our showroom to customers around the world. I really think it's going to set a standard for retail moving forward.
Learn more at Microsoft.com/Teams.
Hey, it's White Boy Chris. If the Pat Downs ever made you laugh, then join our Patreon and support us. Get bonus content, a t-shirt, or an autographed copy of Rabbit, Miss Pat's autobiography. Visit MissPatComedy.com for the link to the Patreon, and while you're there, join our Facebook group.
Welcome to another episode. Shut the fuck up. Welcome to another episode of the Pat Down, and we have a special guest, and we got my friend Jon Radler, and this is the dude that helped me get the Miss Pat show. Oh, when I thought shit wasn't gonna happen, I had a fucking white shoulder to crown.
You better get up, get out, and tune into this podcast. This Pat spit the truth, spit the real fact. Nothing but the ugly, classy at the same time. Pat got the flavor, these are not your same lines. That's the politics, she been on the real grind. It could be pretty but ugly at the same time. Just tune in, put your lock on the spin down. Ain't no need for the wait and turn it up now. What you talking about? Is it real though? And cut the game, you get no play like Nintendo. You wasted time, turn it up, nothing but the ugly. Straight off the top, everything she say, you know it's funny. Full blast, this a taste of the future. Listen on your iPhone, on your desktop computer. Share it, tweet it, ain't no way to beat it. Nothing but the ugly, turn it up and gon' repeat it.
Okay, Chris, do you know who John is?
I have no clue.
This is Jon Radler. This is the man who found me on Marc Maron podcast.
Okay.
That's how I got a TV show.
Smart move.
Now I'm delivering wings in suburban Atlanta. I coincidentally brought a batch of wings to Pat's house just now, and she happened to be recording this podcast. invited me in to participate.
So she treats you like she treats you like everybody else. Where she goes, "Hey, where are you at? Can you bring me something?"
No, what's crazy is he like, you know, we went to a couple football games and he do like the whitest shit, like just walk up on black people. You know, he show all his white privilege. So he come in my house, take his shoes off, open my refrigerator. I'm like, what the fuck are you in my refrigerator for? I can't go in your refrigerator. You can go in my fridge. Nigga, black people don't go in people's refrigerator. That shit is disrespectful. And he immediately just started walking around the house.
Even I knew that, John. I had some leftovers once, and I go, "May I put this in your fridge?" And she's like, "Of course."
That just tells me that Jon Radler had food at the house.
I would say this is a small exaggeration. I stayed within a pretty narrow radius of my entrance, and yes, no. I did go into the refrigerator.
And you also walked over to the window and looked out the back window, like in the backyard, like it was a nigga out there you knew. And I'm like, what the fuck is he looking outside for?
Maybe there's a pool here or something. I don't know.
No fuck. Yes, it's raining, so you can't even fucking use the pool if it was one here.
He's making himself comfortable.
Man.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I like to know what's inside and outside when I'm in a new place.
Oh,
inside the fridge?
Inside the fridge, outside the window.
He went in the fucking pantry. So I said, what are you looking for? Oh, something to drink. Well, nigga, just ask for it.
Well, he doesn't know what to ask for. He opened
up the fridge like Sunny D, orange stuff.
I saw the truth is I saw a can of Pellegrino when I walked in, and I assumed there were more of them, and I assumed that they were in the refrigerator. They were not.
Pellegrino.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know Miss Pat is bougie now.
What kind of 1% shit is happening down there?
I outed you.
I went into her trailer, Chris. She got a whole pallet of Pellegrino just sitting on the floor.
I've got a TV show now. I can't drink just regular ginger ale. I've got to have Pellegrino.
No, I like Pellegrino. I put the Crystal Light inside of it, and it's so fucking good. It is really fucking good, and I can drink it all day long. I know everybody come on my house that black, they be like, what the fuck is this? Or if I'm on FaceTime, somebody like, you drink that bullshit? I'm like, niggas, catch up. This shit is delicious.
I'm mad that you ruined Pellegrino with Crystal Light package.
Right. At least upgrade to Kool-Aid or something. Jeez.
They taste like shit without them.
It's kind of a bitter taste. Sparkling water without flavor is a little weird.
John, aren't you glad you don't look like Chris Spangler?
Let me get a closer.
He looks a little like Rachel Maddow, to be honest. And Rachel Maddow meet Rosie O'Donnell.
You want to hear? So I was Rachel Maddow for Halloween about 4 years ago. I will send you a photo, and that was on that. My brother, who's funny sometimes, literally said the exact same thing that you just said to me.
He's got kind of if you've ever seen Ira Glass, like in that vein, yeah. So John, what do you do? Like when you heard her on Marc Maron, what do you do that you could help her get a TV show?
I don't know that I helped her that much. It took about 6 years, but
5.
we've certainly grown to be friends through the process.
He didn't even have a baby when I knew him.
Well, the first thing I did was I pulled over on the side of the road because I remember where I was. I live in the Valley, and where are you guys? You're in LA or Indy?
I'm in Indy. He's in Atlanta right now.
Yeah. So I was on Sepulveda Boulevard, and the highway. You probably know 405 and Sepulveda, and they run parallel. And you can't pull over on the highway, but on Sepulveda, there's all these like turnoffs for utility trucks or whatever. And Pat was telling the story. The whole thing was funny, but I remember it specifically. She was telling the story about Jimmy Carter at the McDonald's. And I pulled over on the side of the road, and I very nearly peed myself. And I don't know. I just couldn't. But it was almost like in Forrest Gump, how he was just like, or there's this old movie called Zelig, this old Woody Allen movie, and the guy was just everywhere. He was in all these like famous historical spots at all these famous times, and it was like all so unbelievable, the story. But that's just part of it. I mean, and the storyteller is the important thing.
Yeah, because you read the book and you're just like, holy shit, somebody lived through this. But then when you hear on a podcast or see her live, it's just, you can't believe that somebody is as gifted of a storyteller. Like,
I think it's going to be funny that Miss Pat is the first person in history to call the president a nigga and get a TV show because of it.
Oh, well, before that one, they should have been called a nigga.
No. It worked for Sean Hannity.
And then he called. But when that podcast dropped, it was really all to sell the book, which went really well. But then him and 5 other people called.
Well, a lot of people. Maron's podcast is pretty popular in Hollywood. A lot of people listen to it,
especially at that time.
At that time, it was huge.
Yeah, has it dropped off a little bit?
Oh no, I don't know.
Yeah,
no, it's more like Rogan has kind of that cultural spot, whereas before it was Maron, and before that was Corolla, and so somebody always kind of comes up and takes like that top.
I love Maron's podcast because I don't know. I love stories that are chronological, and he seems to operate in that way. And it's sort of like every story is like from birth to the grave, and I like a lot of them, but Pat's was the best I'd ever heard. And so it was a popular podcast in the industry, and I guess she got a lot of calls. And I was one of them. I don't know who the others were, but I know
New Regency.
Yeah.
We met with quite a few people. We met with 5 people, and you was my last one that day.
So I said, are you going to, what did I say? Oh, I called your manager at the time, right?
Yeah. You called my manager.
And I asked if you were going to be in LA, and I think you had plans to come to LA, right?
Yeah.
So you did a round of meetings, and I was your last one. And I
walk in, and it's this young white kid, because I can't tell Jewish people from white people. And
fuck, you just got the TV show and you're gonna lose it? What the fuck?
It's a very, very, very small, infinitesimal percentage of white
now.
people.
The nose give it away, but I didn't know at first. So I just think,
Chris, what are we gonna do?
You can't say that. Do you want the TV show or not?
I'll edit that out. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, let me back up. Well, I walk in and there's this young white guy.
Nothing she can say. Nothing offends me.
I know.
I mean, I didn't know. I'm being honest. I mean, I didn't know anything about Jewish people. I even told him the Holocaust story. I didn't know. So I walk in and there's this young guy. I'm thinking he's about 20-something years old, and he sat there and Empire's the biggest thing on their net. With Brian Grazer them shit at the time, and I'm like, what the fuck he want? And he put his foot on him. You put your foot on the table and totally turned me off. I wanted to slap.
Oh, this is that guy. John.
Yeah, and so I was like, get your foot off the table.
Well, it was my table. But.
Yeah, I don't give a It was his table. It was his table. And I was like, I'm sitting there. He got his foot on the table. I'm like, who raised this nigga? This is what I'm saying to myself. All because his feet is on. And you know, he's Jewish, so he's not like black people. His tennis shoes are not nice. They don't give a fuck about nice tennis shoes. He got a shit ton of money in the bag. He don't give a fuck about no shoes. I'm like, get them dirty ass shoes off that fucking table. That's what I'm saying to myself.
Right.
And I hated him. I hated you, Rattler. I hated him.
Did you hate me just for my shoes or also for my,
yes,
my words?
Yes.
Yeah, that was literally the only.
I just didn't. When you put your foot on that table, I wanted to whoop you. Plus, I didn't know he was like 30-something. He looked like he was like 19 years old. So I'm thinking this is a fucking kid. I had no idea that this man was married and he was a grown-ass man. I'm just thinking, you know, he's some young-ass little boy.
Just a tiny baby working in Hollywood.
He's a grown-ass man, but I thought he was a baby. I just told him that. So are you aging backwards? You looking even younger now. But that's what I thought he was. I thought he was a fucking kid.
Yeah.
I was at this company called Imagine, which is like Pat said, they were producing Empire at the time,
which was huge. They had just launched their first season.
And Imagine is like a legendary company in
not to me because I had never heard of it. So they was like, somebody wants to see you from Imagine.
But that was it's Ron Howard and Brian Grazer's company,
which I didn't know. All I know was Opie, so I didn't know his real name, and I had never heard of Brian Grazer.
Like to give people, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like they just did Hillbilly Elegy, Beautiful Mind, 8 Mile,
Genius.
American Da Vinci Code, Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, so Brian and Ron produced Apollo 13 and tons and tons of classic films, and then and Backdraft and Ransom and
the best
Beautiful Mind,
Eddie Murphy movie, Nutty Professor,
and all those and a bunch of those Jim Carrey movies like Liar Liar, and they've been together for like 30 plus years, and it's sort of an incredible run of a really broad range of different genres, and no one really operates like that anymore. It's probably not possible. But on the TV side, they also did some amazing stuff too. So they did like at the time they were doing Empire, but before that they did Friday Night Lights and 24 and Arrested Development, and I think Aaron Sorkin's first show, Sports Night. So they did some really great stuff in film and television.
And so what did you do there? What did you do there at the time?
I was just like a mid-level executive there. So I
could put your feet on your own table.
Right. I had my own office. I could generally do what I wanted in my office with my feet and my desk.
but like you're in charge of like bringing in talent and maybe development, and so like you're a big deal at this big deal entertainment company, and then Miss Pat walks in, and what were your perceptions of her at first? Like, did you notice her getting uncomfortable at you putting your feet on the table? Like, what did you think of Miss Pat at the time?
Well, the person sitting in front of me in my office didn't really square with the person I listened to on the podcast.
She asked you to get her a drink.
What's that supposed to mean?
She was shy.
Yeah.
No, she was running through my head.
Well, she was quiet.
She was cussing you out, and she didn't want to let it slip. That's what it was.
And it wasn't until I started really hanging out with Pat outside of like a work environment that I understood, and I think you've probably changed a little bit in the past few years, but
I'm older.
Yeah, but once you have to get wound up a little bit, like one of those little cars, you know, that you pull backwards,
like a diesel engine.
You let them go, yeah.
Well, also because after I left his office, I went over and I signed with New Regency, and nothing happened there. And what was so crazy is my manager at the time called me and said the contract expired that day, and I was like, I'm not signing back with them. They didn't find a writer. And Rattler called.
What can you explain what you're talking about? I'm lost.
Oh, so she met with us and a bunch of other people,
and
she didn't pick us.
I didn't pick them. I picked New Regency.
Gotcha.
So when he called back, because we never heard back from him, so I just went on ahead with New Regency. So then when Lee was talking about getting up, when they knew Lee wanted to do another show, he started showing back up, and no lie, the day my contract ended with New Regency, he picked up the phone and said, "Hey, did our contract end yet? Because we want her to meet Lee Daniel." And my manager was like, "How the fuck do he know the contract end?" It was like he wouldn't go away. He would, because every now and then he would email my manager. He's like, this dude would not fucking go away. Did you know? My manager didn't like him.
John,
my manager did not like him.
John, did you know that the contract had expired that day, or were you just like, it was a total chance that you just happened to email them out of the blue?
I had no idea. I just couldn't get that. I couldn't get Pat and the podcast and all that out of my head. So I just figured, it takes nothing to send an email every few weeks just to check in, and oftentimes these things go nowhere. Not even most of the time it's no fault of the people who are trying to develop something. It's hard, especially with you got to put a bunch of elements together to make one of these shows work, and that means finding a writer and all these other components, and sometimes it just doesn't click,
And so then he called and found out the contract ended. And my manager was like, so I was working with somebody else, the lady from Orange is the New Black. And then he told him, he said, well, we're about to do this. He said, well, before you do that, come on over here, just let her meet him. And so I lived in Indiana, and he was like, can she get to Chicago? Because that's where you're going to meet him at. So my manager flew from LA, and
You're talking about Lee.
Yeah, we went going. He set up a meeting with Lee. So we go up there, and I drove to Chicago, me and Garyana, and met my manager, and we go on the set, and it was an instant hit. But was we talk? No, we didn't even. Was we kind of befriend before we got with Lee?
I don't remember, but just for context, Imagine was producing Empire with Lee Daniels,
right?
So they were co-producing that show, and at the time, it was like the biggest thing on television.
Yeah. And so when I decided to go with Lee, I think I started to get to know you a little bit more before that, because you guys had me. No, what happened was I ended up going with them, but they kind of held me for a little while. No, it was the Lee thing. It was a Lee thing. And so then TV takes forever to make. And so I kind of got to know him. And I was like, he pretty fucking cool. Because I have my guard up. I'm ready to knock a motherfucker out. And then the more I got to know him, and I fucking became like family. And then my manager was like, what do you say? Because my manager was, at the time, fucking an asshole. And I was like, I really like this guy. He's like, why? I said, I guess because I spent time with him. And so we just became friends. Like, I remember leaving my license in Indiana, and I couldn't rent a car, and this motherfucker gave me his BMW for the whole to go do my gig in Ontario, California. And people are like, what type of relationship do they have? Because if I go there, everybody know Miss Pat and Jon Radler.
Right.
We went to football games together. We just really, that's how I am. I try to take in everybody. I try to get to know people outside the business, because I don't give a fuck about the business is business, but I want to know a person as an individual. And ended up, he was a big football fan like me, and I think we just grew closer and closer. And then
we went to a Falcons Rams game in Los Angeles. So this is before the new stadiums opened, and it was at the Coliseum.
That's right. Oh, those fucking,
which is a dump.
Oh, it was like
that stadium's like 60 years old,
right?
And I think we took the train down there, right?
Yeah, we did.
Sound right?
We did.
The Falcons killed the Rams. They won like 49-14 or something.
But you'd
like
have thought Hercules played in that stadium with those fucking concrete seats, and it was fucking horrible.
And I was sitting there in the stands, and Pat disappeared. I had no idea where she went. And at a certain point, I got a little worried, and she wasn't answering her phone, or there was no reception at the stadium. And I went to go look for her, and in my mind, I'm asking people, have you seen this woman? But
have you seen this woman? I don't want to discuss ethnicity. But
what does she look
loud,
like?
Big and black.
She once called the president a nigga. Y'all know who I'm talking about.
So I eventually I heard what I thought was who I thought was Pat, and she was just. I think this was almost like the purest form of comedy that could possibly exist, because there was no audience, and she was just heckling Rams fans in the concourse.
I sure was. You and my friend came too. Remember? He was from Atlanta with his girlfriend.
Yeah, but he wasn't there at the time. You were doing this. This was a solo mission. You were heckling Rams fans and saying some. I have a videotape of it somewhere. He's saying some pretty brutal stuff to these people, and it was hilarious. And the thing that was so interesting about it was, like, I thought if I came within 100 yards of saying anything, any of the words that she said to these people, I would have been murdered. Yeah. And yet
they was high fiving me.
Every single incident ended in like a hug or a high five.
What were you saying, Miss Pat?
I was saying, y'all ain't shit. We beat y'all ass. And I was acting like, whoa, Ram, and then move my hand. And, like, I was just fucking with them. But, it was all out of love.
It was way more brutal than that.
I was talking mad shit on that concourse.
That's how you know she was at a Rams game and not a Raiders game.
Oh, they beat your ass at the Raiders game. They will beat your ass.
And I don't know what it is, but there's that's that quality to be able to do that, to make fun of someone like that, and then to hug at the end of it. That is the rarest of all qualities. There are very, very few people who have that ability. I don't know where it comes from or how you get it, but it's really
mostly bullying.
Yeah.
Kiss my ass.
I was gonna say she has a fun sincerity about her, but yeah, bullying works too. Hey,
I don't bully any fucking.
We need to take a break. So we'll be right back after the break. We'll keep talking to Jon Radler.
So we all know we're in some crazy times right now, right? And everyone wants to keep their home safe. Whether it's from a break-in, a fire, a flood, a medical emergency, I'm here to tell you about a great product called Simply Safe Home Security. It delivers award-winning 24/7 protection, baby. With Simply Safe, you don't just get an arsenal of cameras and sensors. You get the best professional monitor in the business, baby. You got real people watching over your shit. They got your back day and night, ready to send the police on their ass, the fire, the EMT when you fall, when you need them the most, straight to your door. I got Simply Safe. You walk up there and steal my package, I got your ass. Guess what? You can set up Simply Safe yourself within 30 minutes. It's super easy. These Simply Safe professionals take over, monitoring your home 24/7 to send help the moment there's an alarm. Let me say that again. The moment, not the minute, the moment there's an alarm. Plus, Simply Safe, there are no long-term contract, no hidden fees or installation costs. And right now, my listeners get a free home security camera when you purchase Simply Safe at simplysafe.com/patdown. That's SIMPLISAFE. Simplysafe.com/patdown. You get a free home security camera. And you can also get a 60-day risk-free trial. So there's nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. They're giving you stuff to try their stuff. Visit simplysafe.com/patdown for your free camera today. Like I ask you every week, is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapy because we're going to need it after this, child. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. And look, it's not a crisis hotline. It's not self-help. It's a professional counseling done securely online to keep other motherfuckers out your business. And there's a broad range of experts available, which may not be locally available in many areas. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can log onto your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You get timely and thoughtful response. Plus, you can schedule your weekly videos or your phone sections. You won't even have to sit in a uncomfortable waiting room like traditional counseling. You don't want to be sitting next to nobody who's twirling their hair. Go on and get BetterHelp so you can do online therapy right there at your house in your underwear. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they make it easy and free to change counselor if you don't like them. I tell you every week, if your counselor is cross-eyed and you tired of looking to the left and the right trying to understand this person, you can change them. No charge. All you got to do is go to BetterHelp.com. That's better, HELP.com/patdown. Join the millions of people who's taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. So many people right now is using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional counseling in all 50 states. Go to BetterHelp.com/patdown right now to take charge of your life. You can thank me later. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm always looking at a screen. Now more than ever, y'all. They working the dog shit out of me. And whether you're an avid news watcher or in a serious need of distraction, unplugging yourself is easier said than done. One of my favorite ways to rest my eyes and still get the content I'm itching for is by putting in my Raycon wireless earbuds and listening to something great. I just discovered this new fucking song. It's banging, y'all. It's called Legendary. I'm telling you, I can't keep my earbuds out their ear. And if you keep yours in as long as I do, they might clean the wax out your ear. Whether you're catching up on your favorite news or podcast or powering through your workout with a pumped up playlist, a pair of Raycon in your ears can make all the difference. I'm telling you, I rock my Raycon each and every day. No dangling wires or stems to get in your way here. Raycon comes in a range of stylish colors, but also with a comfortable in-ear fit for a more discreet look. Raycon are built to perform anywhere and anytime with water-resistant construction and Bluetooth that pairs quickly and seamless. Yes, I can get in my car or I can pop open my phone and my Raycon will connect. I don't have to go through all that bull crap I go through with other earbuds. And with enough battery life for 6 hours of playtime. I'm here to tell you, because I love you, Raycon is offering 15% off their product for my listeners. You got to go to buyraycon.com/patdown. That's BUYRAYCON.com/patdown. If your ass don't put the /patdown with it, with Buy Raycon, you ain't getting the 15%. That's it. You get 15% off your entire Raycon order. So feel free to grab a pair and a spare. That's 15% off at buyraycon.com/patdown. Your ass better put in at buyraycon/patdown. I'm telling you, one of the best noise cancellation earbuds for half the price out there.
Support for this podcast comes from State Farm, the good neighbors who offer you surprisingly great rates on your home and car insurance. State Farm agents are great at helping you personalize your insurance to match your needs. Plus, an award-winning app that makes the whole insurance process surprisingly great. So if you're looking for a surprisingly great rate that comes with a lot of other surprisingly great things, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We back. So after we just, but make a long story short, we just kept getting to know each other, which ended up being a friendship. Literally, when I go to LA, I'm like, I stay at his house. That's but cool. He got 2 dogs, and I think one of them is racist. Oh, this piece of shit. One of them want to sniff your pussy, and one of them just want to bark at you. And I fucking hate these goddamn dogs.
What kind of dogs are they?
Which one's the racist then?
I was not aware that their like personalities were so developed that which one is the racist and which one is the
nigga that's always barking at me,
and which one is the sniffer?
The other one, okay. The little quiet one that be on the sofa. Did he let his dog walk on the sofa? I'm like, what the fuck are these dogs doing on the sofa? You look up, they're just laying behind you. If you don't get your motherfucking ass breathing in my weave.
She has the most strict furniture rules. No feet, no dogs. Only ass on the sofa.
I guess in a white person's house, the dogs, they really have their run of the place, right?
Yeah, but not mine. I don't have animals either, but
What kind of dogs do you have, John?
They're little mutts, just from the shelter. One's like 15 pounds, one's 18 pounds. They look like they're brothers,
Bitches.
but they're not. Yeah,
Bitches.
they're and in her defense, they're horrible dogs. They're completely untrained and
They just bark all over the place. Remember, I said, I'm the same nigga that came over 6 months ago. Why the fuck are you barking at me?
nobody likes.
Because you're back.
Fair.
Fuck you, Chris.
We told you last time we don't like your kind around here. What are you?
You might be right. They bark like they ain't never seen me before. I'm the same nigga. Ain't that many that comes over here.
So
Do you keep a nigga tally about the front door?
Do you keep a nigga tally by the door?
I don't.
The dogs do.
The dogs might, or someone else in my house might.
The dogs be like, one nigga per year. He's like, what the hell?
So are you involved in making the show now, or like how did we get from you hearing her on Marc Maron and then you picking up the show to like where we're at now?
So this was a, like Pat said, a 5-year process, and
5 years.
And like anything in television, it's really, you got to find the right writer, and I think it took us a long time to find that person. Doesn't mean we weren't selling the project, because you could, I think, march Pat into a bunch of different rooms in our business, and people want to buy stuff from her because her stories are so funny and her life is so interesting and her point of view on all that is so interesting. But we ended up developing it 2 times at Fox Network, and both times we didn't get picked up. And but they after the first time they passed, or Pat passed on the, I can't remember exact details, but whatever.
We had to switch writers.
We switched writers, and then we did it again with Pat. We did it again with Fox, and then ultimately Fox passed, and we got it. So that's when a new writer came on, the guy who's writing the project in its current incarnation, and his name's Jordan Cooper, and he and then we went and sold it to Hulu, and
we went to Fox 21.
Yeah, the studio arm of when I was working at Imagine, and that's where Lee's deal was as well. They were with a division called 20th, and for a long time, 20th's business was almost exclusively broadcast television, and so it was really kind of at that inflection point where streaming and it was taking over from broadcast. But the studio and our company, because our deal was there, was still a little old fashioned in that regard. So most of the projects at that time, it all changed a couple of years later, but that we were taking everything to broadcast. And the show really wasn't, I mean, this was ultimately the problem. We didn't have the right writer, but also it really wasn't a broadcast show. And what I mean by that is not that I don't think you could put the show on broadcast. If you had a broadcaster who had some chutzpah and had some balls, you could put this show on and do really, really well with it. But they're not programmed that way, and they're really not conditioned to take those kinds of chances now. So we were fortunate that it ended up then through another division of the studio, and this might be a little inside baseball and in the weeds, so you tell me to stop if it gets boring.
Well, let me pause you there before we go there. Can you explain the what is a development deal versus we need a writer, like just real basic, kind of quickly, what that means for people?
The very basically is Pat decides she wants to go with us and with Lee, and then 20th Century Fox, who's the studio and they're the bank, they make a deal with Pat. So that's assigned to our companies, and they negotiate the terms of that deal, a payment for Pat to develop it, and then they're also at that time going to negotiate her fee for the show if it ever makes it to series as well.
Gotcha. So once all of that got done, we went over to Fox 21. Fox 21 walked in, and we sold it in a room to Hulu.
Right.
And then Hulu developed it. They shot the pilot, and I remember on the night, what was so crazy on the night that we shot the pilot, because I remember him always saying, I'm not going to stop until I get you on TV. You remember telling me that? And I was saying to myself, shut the fuck up, you're lying. Because it had been dropped so many times. And, other people saying, this is going to go. I'm like, no. And I don't really believe anybody. But for some reason, he kept saying, you're going to get on TV. And he about the only thing that I do believe in Hollywood other than Jordan. And Jordan ain't Hollywood, but, he's executive producer. So I'm like, well, he haven't given up yet. He hasn't ran off yet, so it must be something here. So we take it on, we shoot it for Hulu. It was fucking a spectacular night. But I just had a feeling when I walked in that room back there and the big guy from Hulu was looking at me like he had just caught me robbing his house. And I was like, this man is not picking up this shit. And they it was so good. And I'm trying to tell him he's not going to pick it up. Wasn't I saying that? Nobody listened to me. I said, he's not going to pick up this show. And I remember them saying, why you so negative? I said, I know energy. I know feelings that I get from people. I felt the rejection when I walked back there in the room with all these and it was Hulu and Imagine and Fox. I could just feel it. And when I looked at him and he had this thing in my eye, if I had a gun, I'd shoot you, bitch. Yeah, I just caught you breaking in my house.
Because you had just shown them the pilot and then you all walk into a room after the screening?
We had finished taping the pilot.
Okay, gotcha.
And I just felt his energy. And I remember telling Jordan, I said, he's not going to pick it up. That night, and did I tell you the same thing that night?
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, he's not going to pick it up. He's like, why? It's so good. I said, he don't want it. He don't get it. My spirit told me that night after the second take that he didn't want it. Nobody would listen to me. So Lee was like, oh, they're going to pick it up. And I was telling Jordan, they're not going to pick this up. Why would you say that? So it took him a month to drop it. Mm-hmm. About a month to drop it. And then I remember walking on stage that night. Dion, you was with me that night. We was in North Carolina, and I got a call from Lee. He was blowing up my phone, and I'm like, what is it? What do he want? And he was like, I'm so sorry. They didn't pick it up. I said, I knew they weren't going to pick it up. I tried to tell y'all, nobody would fucking listen. No, I was telling people. I
can vouch for that. She said it a million times. They ain't going to pick up the show.
Nobody will listen to me.
But we've talked about it before. Sometimes you're like, this good thing isn't going to happen to me. So I imagine that, but you were you told me that too. Like, you were very, like, it wasn't like, shucks, I don't think this is going to happen. It was like, this guy doesn't like me, and this isn't going to happen.
I'm not going to say he don't like me. I'm going to say the project, he didn't get it. So to pick up to Ms. Pat's show, what we're doing now, you got to get it.
Yeah.
You can't be scared, and you got to get it.
I usually trust your intuition because I think it's most of the time it's accurate. But I don't know. I think I believed. The pilot came out, and you guys have seen it, right?
Yeah, it's really good.
It came out great, and I've worked on a lot of crap, and so on some level, you just kind of trust that if something is objectively good, that they will see that as well, and they will understand how to program it, and so I really believe that it would get picked up because I thought it was objectively good. We never really are privy to all of the testing reports, but we understand it tested really well too. So
let me ask you this: so when you say how they program it, like, did this get picked up and dropped and not picked up? I guess I should say a bunch of times because that's just normal for a show, or is it because this is going to be a unique show dealing with tough subjects and maybe some cursing or
I think that most of the time something goes through that process, that cycle once, and if it doesn't get picked up, which is 99.9% of the projects, that it's dead. But I think everybody believed in Pat to the degree that we were all willing to keep running it back and trying to find a new writer for it. And you were very generous to give me credit for the last iteration, but I was not the person who found. I think it was Lee who found Jordan. Is that right?
Yeah, Lee found Jordan and asked me to go meet Jordan on my birthday. And I told this story before, and I fly, and I was like, oh my God, this kid died as an old fat black woman. He came back as a gay man. And I was like, I just felt his spirit. And I was like, I know you can do it.
Such a terrible way to die.
Yeah. I'll tell you though, as somebody,
how you die.
As
you can't
somebody,
pick and choose how you come back either. Goddamn it.
Yeah, as somebody who has
to have died like that, it must have meant that he lived like that too.
So as somebody who's spent time in Miss Pat's house, like Jordan, I don't know if he spent time in your house, but he nailed the energy, the vibe. Like the pilot matches Miss Pat's family. Like it's so well written and well done.
It's a sitcom now. So before we had done two tries at a single camera show, and the reason we did that was just because at that moment they weren't making any sitcoms. The 4-camera sitcom was sort of dead. They had a couple of them on CBS.
Can you give an example of the difference?
A show that's shot in front of a studio audience with a laugh track, and they shoot it with 4 cameras in front, sort of like a live play. And then Jordan, who was a kid, I think he was still in college when we first met him. Literally, had not graduated from college, and I guess he just grew up with, like a lot of kids, he was a latchkey kid who just grew up with these sitcoms, but he internalized them in a way that was like really, really profound. And what's so interesting about that is like, you don't meet anyone between the age of like, I don't know, 25 and 50 who can still write one of these things, because all the people who knew how to do it, the good ones, they've gone on to do other things or they died, and then that other generation of people, they just don't know how to do it. They're influenced by, I think, like the bad versions that they have on some of they're probably influenced by like the kids versions. They don't look like they used to look in the 70s. They're really like heavy on the laugh track, canned audience laughter, really, really bright, colorful sets, really over-the-top performances, and lots of like setups and punchlines, and very unnaturalistic dialogue.
No stories. And the show, what we take 3 episodes so far, 2 episodes. We're on the 3rd one.
We've done 3 with the pilot.
Yeah, 3 with the pilot. It's like watching him, because when Jordan, the writer, the co-creator, or the creator, when he get to in his zone, he kind of talks to himself. He's actually having conversation, and that's how he put the voices in each person's mouth. So I know to stand off and say, "Oh, he's just out there creating." And like the way this show is gonna open, I don't want to really give it away, but I was like, Jordan, we're not doing all that. He's like, no. Let me get it. And then the other day we shot. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So yesterday, I don't know if he told you how he wants the next one to open. It is so fucking cool. And I'm like, just I said, it's kind of funny to watch this kid take all these millions of dollars, a black kid, and just turn into a fucking playground. I was like,
awesome.
Lee Daniel really set you up good with all these millions of dollars, and you just fucking in a playground.
He really wanted to do a throwback show in the style of all the Norman Lear sitcoms, and the interesting thing is like, and really, a lot of us have gone back and watched these at Jordan's insistence. But in those old Norman Lear sitcoms, they're not cursing like they're going to curse in our show, but the language they used and the topics they discussed were really current and very honest. And no broadcast television network would touch those with a 10-foot pole now. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what happened, how things got so safe and so anodyne. But this show is really meant to be a throwback to those shows with very modern language, sometimes filthy language that's very unique to Pat and her family.
Filthy language.
Like I said, it reflects Miss Pat's household.
Dion, did you hear any fucking filthy language?
I'm not gonna ruin any of the surprises.
Hey, why don't we stop here and end this episode, and then we'll come back and do a part 2 with John, because I want to hear how this got picked up with BET Plus.
Okay, all right.
Why don't you give us an outro or like add a little more like.
All right, y'all. Y'all got to stay tuned for part 2 of this year. How the Miss Pat show was developed. And hey, we're going to keep it going too. You're going to get to meet all the cast over the weeks before we wrap too. So make sure what did I say? Do I need an intro?
Yeah. Just tune in next week.
Just tune in. Fuck you, Chris. Bye, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of The Pat Down. Make sure you check out my website at misspatcomedy.com for all of my social media, my tour dates, my book. Make sure you spread the word about my podcast. Please rate and review. Please rate and review and share. Thank y'all so much, y'all. I've been Miss Pat.